Assalamu alaikum. Students, welcome to today's lecture about human resource management. In this lecture, we will see what is meant by human resource management. We will discuss a model for human resource management in software industry. Then we will look into the topic training and human resource management. Lastly, we will discuss briefly health and safety at work along with Health and Safety Act 1974. So now, what is human resource management? As the name suggests, human resource management is the management of employees or humans of an organization in such a way that their performance are maximized, which contribute to the organization's objectives. Here comes the point, the importance of organization's objective. Of course, every organization has some vision for which it is working, and it is likely for an organization to want its employees to be focused in attaining the goals and objectives. Now comes the point, that is human resource management appropriate for software engineering work? All the studies and researches shows that human resource management is particularly appropriate for software work, so management of people, staff training and development with a strategic approach is really important in any software house. Now, before discussing a model of human resource management, some points should be kept in mind. Point number one is the commitment from an employee to work earnestly and to manage himself so well in performing his responsibilities and duties that he is directly contributing towards the organizational goals. Point number two is all managers are responsible for human resource management, whether it is clear in their responsibilities or not. Point number three is how the maximum utilization of human resource be available to the enterprise, as this thing cannot be measured by human asset calculations. We will try to find out the answer for point 3 in following slides. Now we will discuss the salient features of a model for human resource management. The first feature is that the model should be long-term, strategic, and proactive in style. Human resource planning, or what used to be called manpower planning, is of great significance for managers responsible for locating and developing resources for the information technology environment. A disciplined approach is needed to address the problems associated with employees in IT environment in order to establish number of staff, utilization of personnel, development and education of employees, and human resource management policies to mitigate medium and long-term corporate requirements. The model should be long-term in a sense that it should decide beforehand what number of staff should be hired for current projects as well as other future projects. For the current number of staff, proper strategies should be made for maximum utilization of personnel plus their individual development of skills. For education and development, training programs can be arranged. Now, managers may want to make a projection of future staff needs based on expected demand and output and the necessary inputs of capital and labor. Although the future is unforeseeable, but even a crude projection like taking into account retirements, promotions, and average levels of job quits is better than simply reacting to events. Hence, the model should be proactive. Next feature is the commitment to the organization. The real challenge with human resource management is to change the behavior, attitude, and thinking of employees to shift from control through reliance on the rule governing employment towards commitment and self motivation. That is, all employees should feel their responsibilities as moral obligations instead of orders. So, if the employees are self committed, they can be judged by firm specific skills like their attendance, how disciplined they are, how responsible they are, and above all, what are their work rate. The third feature is the self management. In a software development, team working is a vital element. It is not individuals who are working alone, it is teams who complete projects. Therefore, workers must be engaged in such a way as to participate in the full range of tasks involved in building a perfect product on time. In this regard, direct and regular face to face contact between managers and workers is emphasized. This builds trust and helps maintain motivation. The teams should be appraised from time to time to keep motivation levels and self management high. Performance appraisals is central in any human resource management strategy. Next feature is the unitary perspective, in which entire enterprise is regarded as analogous to a team with one focus of loyalty from employees and one focus of authority from employers, meaning that employers demand loyalty from every employee and in return they make policies for them to grow equally. Salary raises is a crucial part of keeping effective workers content. Organizations' policies should be such that every worker feels motivated and work for getting promoted. Therefore, organization structure should be such that worker can grow up with a hierarchy and get senior positions without having necessary to become managers. For example, at Microsoft, a software developer can get a raise up to senior architect despite the seniority. Senior architectures are not company directors. Next feature is the maximum utilization of human resources, which is not straightforward as discussed in point 3. It's a difficult task, specifically in information technology environment, because efficiency of employees cannot be measured by the sitting time in front of computers. Researchers have found that office workers spend an average of 30 minutes a day using online facilities rather than working for their employers. For example, in June 1999, a woman lost an unfair dismissal case after being fired for booking a holiday on the internet from her workplace after 150 web searches. So, keeping in view the above situations, there may arise a question of how much and or workers should be paid with respect to the value added in each hour that people are employed for. Next point is computer surveillance at work is now common and employees are informed accordingly being watched in office hours. In a software house, surveillance is critical because of the strict deadlines to complete the project. If the employees are left open ended, then it might be possible that management gets the impression that the project is going well and has no idea what is actually happening at the grassroots level. By the time they find out, it's too late. Therefore, as a conclusion, it's very difficult to monitor employees' activities in a software development process, and proper measures should be taken to define useful outcomes at hourly or per day basis. Otherwise, the projects may not complete in time, resulting in considerable loss for an organization. Now we will discuss next topic, which is training and human resource management. Under this heading, we will see what universities are producing and what industries are expecting. In a survey in 2002, it was reported that there are more IT careers than capable individuals. Mentioned there was, despite universities establishing more IT and computing courses and applications rising strongly, the industry continues to generate more vacancies than capable recruits. We know that every computer scientist is not a capable recruit. It is skill set but not the degrees which makes an individual capable. Therefore, the common behavior among computer graduates which computing companies find that IT graduates often lack transferable or people handling skills such as communications and a broader knowledge of how businesses work. Now, this is the most common complaint from industry, that individuals have no business knowledge. And this is so alarming situation for IT graduates that industrialists are now focusing to hire people other than IT background and train them with necessary IT skills to work with at organization expense. For example, Dr. Neil made a comment that from an industry point of view, we are often better placed to take people with good generalist degree and turn them into engineers. So this situation is really alarming and universities must focus upon them. Next complaint from industry is that computer scientists are people who understand the finer details of software programming but cannot program. We have to start again and teach them the methods and tricks we work with. This situation is also very thought provoking. There is a huge gap between what is being taught in universities and what is being implemented in industries. Hence, industry claims that they have to train the individuals again with methods and tricks being adopted in industries, and hence, the considerable loss of time and resources takes place. Universities should minimize the gap between the two, otherwise, there will be no job security for IT graduates. Next topic is health and safety at work. When we heard about a major disaster like the King's Cross fire, or the Piper Alpha explosion, or the Paddington rail crash, health and safety at work usually only hits the headlines. It is a sad fact that although society reacts keenly to disaster, there is much less interest in the steady toll of individual deaths, injuries, and cases of disease which occur due to activities at work. Now the question is how software industry can be dangerous for an individual at work. As we know that technology advances these days in many high risk areas such as oil, chemical, and nuclear industries, the safety systems themselves are often computer controlled. It should be clear here that the software must be of the highest integrity and must handle safely all foreseeable eventualities. Take another example of fly by wire aircraft's computer system. There is clearly an enormous responsibility on those who design and implement software for all potentially hazardous applications. Next point is it is seen on average that around 200 employees each year still die as a result of accidents at work. Next topic is Health and Safety Act 1974. Before 1974, many safety acts were made to safeguard people at work. In 1974, an act was made with an intention that it would replace all existing health and safety legislation. However, because of the mass of pre existing legislation and the complexity of the industry, it was expected that this would take some time to accomplish, and at present time it is still not complete. We will discuss four major points here that opted in 1974 Act. Point number 1 is in pre 1974 legislation, only conditions applied if the workers were in premises and some catastrophe occur. But in 1974 Act, employment is the only necessary criteria to avail conditions. Point number 2 is old legislation talked about specific requirements like, for example, every dangerous part of any machinery shall be securely fenced. But new legislation talk about general requirements like it shall be the duty of every employer to ensure the health, safety, and welfare at work of all his employees. Point number 3 is there are no requirements on manufacturers or suppliers before 1974. But 1974's Act introduced comprehensive new duties for manufacturers and suppliers of articles and substances for use at work. Point number 4 is old legislation covered regulations for specific industries and processes, but new legislation is focused on specific regulations which are in general terms and easily updatable. So students, in this lecture we have learned what is meant by human resource management. We have discussed salient features for a model of human resource management. We have looked into how training and human resource management are interrelated according to industry point of view. Lastly, we have discussed health and safety at work along with the Health and Safety Act 1974. Hope you have enjoyed this lecture. Till next lecture, Allah Hafiz.